morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining. My name is Peter Warda, and I'm representing the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a couple of housekeeping items. First off, please utilize the question box throughout the webinar. You will find that in your control panel to the right. As we move through the webinar, feel free to type in your questions, and we'll get them answered during our Q&A session. As a reminder, your questions will remain anonymous, so please don't hesitate to ask anything that you want to know. Also, don't forget to check out our events page to register for our upcoming 2020 Sacramento update. This will feature Lieutenant Governor Eleni Prinalakis, State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and Assemblywoman Christy Smith. There is no charge for our members, but RSVP is required. So for today's webinar, we will be hearing from Dr. Leanor Johansen, who's clinical psychologist with the LA County Department of Mental Health. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Southern California and PhD in clinical psychology from the California School of Professional Psychology. Her expertise is in cultural diversity and community mental health. Dr. Johansen currently works in an administrative role involving program development, outpatient care reimbursement, support, and training. Prior to her appointment at the county, she served the community at large by providing trauma crisis to individuals and organizations, as well as to first responders affected by vicarious trauma. So during this pandemic, our minds and mental strength have been put to the test, both personally and professionally. Our mental health allows us to determine how we handle stress and make healthy choices. So during this presentation, we'll learn to navigate through new challenges by maintaining our own mental health and well-being. Just to go over a few topics that will be discussed today, we'll hear about managing our mental health and well-being, exploring the relationship between mind and body wellness, recognizing symptoms of fear and anxiety and what to do, creating a healthy work at home environment, reopening your business safely, and mental health resources. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Johansen. Dr. Johansen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Warda. Lovely to be here. Thank you, everybody from the Santa Clarita Chamber. It's an honor to be here, and I'm very excited. Santa Clarita is a lovely city. I have visited a few times. I had an aunt that lived there, and it's just a lovely city. And it's grown so much in the last few years compared to when she first moved there. And I think that the Chamber is full of amazing people and very spirited and excited folks. So I'm so happy to be here, and I'm glad to be able to offer any help from the Speakers Bureau. So I just want to cover some basic things. I know that today during the current pandemic, your business needs have changed. You as an individual also have had to make changes. I have had to make changes. We all are going through this together. So I just want to normalize how important it is for each and every one of us to think about our mental health and what that means for us as individuals. Even though you all are intelligent business owners, entrepreneurs, I'm sure you wear many professional roles and hats to serve your communities. You are the primary force of this. Everything that happens in your business also is related to you and your mental health, as well as what happens at home with your families. So I just want to make sure that you know that you are important, you matter. And many times I think we as professionals, we are always called to duty, and we are dutiful to our profession and businesses or families and those that we provide services to, and that's the right thing. But during this presentation, I want to make sure that you know you are valued as a human first and as an individual first and foremost, because I don't think we get a chance to be just people. Sometimes we are called to be a parent or a professor or an owner of a company or a student, all the different hats that you may wear. Some of you may be essential workers, some of you may be medical professionals at the first line of contact with people that are having COVID issues at this time. So I just want to make sure that you all know that you are valued as people first. So when I was thinking about this presentation, I wanted to make sure that you are aware that it's about you from a personal perspective, and we will cover the things that Peter has mentioned, but I definitely want you to know that, you know, I care and the county cares, and the human part is the most vital part. Mental health is all related to whole person care. So that is super important. And I am gonna just put up a couple of slides and see if I can share a screen or two. And as Peter mentioned, I'm happy to put up I have some resources in case anybody needs some, or if anybody has any type of special needs or requests, we're happy to look into that, and Peter will email us and we can see what we can do. So let me see about pulling up some of the slides that I prepared. So I don't know, are you guys able to see this? No? Show my screen. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, okay. You should now be able to show it. There you go.
Okay, so here I go. Are you all able to see this? Oh, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are some of the items that we are covering. I just want to move this over this little box to see if it would be able to show. So Peter, do they see the actual slide or no?
Yeah, we see the PowerPoint. If you're able to just do it in presentation mode, Dr. Johansen, so that way we see it on the full screen, that'll be perfect.
Okay, let me move that. Oops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. And then this little chat box, I'm gonna try to see if I can move it away so I can kind of follow along with you, but or minimize. If I minimize my camera, you won't. If I minimize my box, you won't see me, or you still will. I prefer you see the presentation. Okay, so is that better?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, all right. So we're going to look into resiliency and how it relates to you as an individual, and thinking about the mental health part as part of your total health. Looking at how we look at our body as it relates to the whole person. Our mind is part of that, and the intellectual parts, the emotional parts, all of that is part of our overall self. Creating that healthy work at home environment. Some of you may already be doing this because you've been working from home for quite some time. Tips to manage the quarantine. Some of you may be quarantining alone and or with pets, and some may be students or home with parents that are going to school, or students of school age or college age, and that might represent a little bit of a different type of quarantining. Fears related to COVID and unemployment, and of course following any rules and regulations that you already are doing with your local state and other medical professionals, all of that advice that they are giving you, making sure that you are following that. And then recognizing symptoms of any fear and anxiety and what to do, and then coping skills, tools, and some mental health resources. So I'm gonna move on to the next slide. So resiliency matters, of course, and some people are not sure what that exactly means. But resiliency here is looking at how you can think about yourself as a person who's been through many, many things. You might have had trauma as a child or as an adult. And when I think of trauma, I'm thinking about trauma with a big T for major life events that changed you as a person that you were able to overcome. And then there's trauma with a small t, little things that were not so little to you that really could have left you feeling unsure about yourself or stressed or caused anxiety, sleep problems, anything that stayed with you that you didn't feel you could cope very well with. So as business owners and professionals here through the chamber, and anybody who's part of the public at large, you have had a whole life experience. Whatever age you are, you come equipped with your whole life. And so as you're sitting today in this 1 hour we have together, I want you to just think about how many times you overcame something already. You're already an equipped person who made it this far. You've survived so many things already prior to COVID. And in terms of resiliency, it really is looking at how many things have affected us and how did we overcome those challenges to make ourselves mentally stronger and to cope and persevere with the strengths that you already have. So the fact that you're on a call today with me and with Peter and with your chamber speaks to your resilient nature anyways. You are here because you're business owners and professionals and people in the community who are resilient. You have made it this far. You have maybe some traumas under your belt or some smaller traumas with a lower T, and you still came out okay, and you've coped through it the best you could. So I just want to put that out there, and I want you to keep that in mind, because when we go through something like this that none of us have ever experienced. COVID is brand new to all of us. We want to think about how many times have we overcome life stressors that were very painful or difficult or surprising to us or left us feeling shocked or uncertain. Okay, so you're already resilient, and that's very important for you to consider. And it matters now more than ever that when things get difficult, that you remember, like, I can get through this, and I have resources, and I have support, and I know how to get what I need, and I am a resilient individual. And if I need something and I'm not able to take care of myself, I know what resources I can utilize, or I know what personal, professional, and or medical or other supports I can call upon to get the help. So I really want to say you're already equipped with your life experience. The fact that you're here today, business owners and or students, professionals have already overcome things to get to where you are. So draw on that, and that's going to get you through some of what's going on now. In terms of resiliency and why it matters for us to be able to make choices and to understand how we can utilize this resilient part of ourselves, this strength that helped us overcome these life issues, so that we can draw upon that internal strength at any other resources that we may need. So it's important to remember you already have a repertoire of skills inside of you that you've picked up along the way, and you can also build new ones. So there may be some people on the call that are thinking, oh, I've had a pretty good life. I've never had any major issues, never had to go to therapy or mental health or counseling or anything like that. And I've pretty much been able to solve my own problems, get through my life. Okay, wonderful. And that may be many of you on the call, and that's fantastic. And there may be some that are a little bit in the middle that think, well, I did have a few major things, but I was able to solve it and get through it and be okay. And then there might be another percentage of you that are thinking, oh my goodness, I have so many ongoing factors that have stressed me out or caused impairments in my life and made me feel like I needed to get extra help, or I didn't know how to cope. So there may be a mix of different individuals that will see this or hear this, and you might represent any of those parts, but we can still help people build resiliency even if they don't feel they are fully equipped. So it's not that you can't learn new skills, which you definitely can, and I just want to mention that as well, because sometimes people feel like, well, is a resilient person somebody who has something special that I can't get? No, you can build it. Resilient people are special in the sense that they've been able to overcome, and they have something inside of them that allowed them to persevere and cope differently than possibly other people who might have been through the similar experiences. But it doesn't mean that those who don't feel that they're resilient can't learn how to do so. So today we're going to go over just a few ways to think about that, and I just want to hold that in your mind so that you're able to picture yourself already as somebody who's overcome some life things that could have knocked you down or set you back, or may have done so in small ways, but you were able to bounce back up and be here today. And so that's very, very important to keep in mind. Managing your mental health and well-being. So in terms of the resilience piece and looking at yourself, your mental health is part of your overall health. Some people think about their mental health as a separate thing. They're not really too clear. And some of you may be very clear. I may have people who are from the psychology field. I may have people that have a counseling degree on this call today, or psychiatrists, or other psychologists, or licensed clinical social workers. I might have nurses here, anybody who has had some psychology, or some of the business owners. Many of you might have also had a bachelor's as well, or possibly other degrees in psychology. And so you have some idea of how to manage your well-being and what it means to be somebody who's taking care of their mental health. But some people don't think about their mental health. Some people haven't had the experience, or really kind of look at their body as a physical piece. And they do think about the mental part, but they're not thinking about the emotional part and how it relates to your health. And they're also not maybe thinking about the intellectual piece or the spiritual piece. So we are whole people, meaning we are not just a physical body. We also have our mind-body connection. our emotional piece, your intellectual piece, your spiritual piece. So we have multiple layers that are vital to our overall well-being. And we need to think about, how do we renew our mind daily, and how do we get rid of thoughts that maybe are not useful to you anymore, that might be causing you more stress or more anxiety or irritations or just uncomfortable kinds of experiences, and you're not really sure how to manage that. So one way we can think about managing our mental health and well-being is to look into practicing mindfulness. So many of you see a lot of information online and or through friends, or you may already be somebody who practices mindfulness. But mindfulness at its very basic, minimal understanding is just being present, focused in the here and now. It's like, if you're in this presentation, be here right now. Or if you are at work in a meeting, or you are putting together your own presentation, or you have a client to meet, or you're opening your restaurant, or you're having dinner with your family, or you're studying for an exam, all the different things you do is making sure you are present, focused right now. It's so easy for us to allow ourselves, especially with today's information overload, for us to be doing multiple things. We have 2 phones, we have multiple tablets and laptops, we have multiple people and many hats that we wear and roles that we are responsible for. And sometimes we can manage it so well, and other times we are spread so thin that we're not staying present, focused. So with the mindfulness, we want you to really think about being present, being where you are today, where you are, so you can give yourself to the moment and be your best self in that moment, so that your mental health and well-being are going to serve you better than not thinking about the present moment and allowing too many things to pull you from a stable sense of well-being, or more sense that keeps you focused to what you're doing. So some ways that we can think about mindfulness and our mental health would be to practice meditation. And that would be, there's different types. And since this is only a 1-hour brief presentation on managing your mental health, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I just want to say that meditation can be as simple as closing your eyes and clearing your mind, and having the intention to just clear your mind and be at peace and be still. Other things you could do instead of that would be to focus on a visualization, and there's different types, guided and unguided, and different goals. So that's one way. Another way to practice mindfulness would be just pay attention to what you're feeling. You don't have to meditate. You could just be with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling? So many times people ask us, like, how are you? And it's so common for people to say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, when they're really not fine, because that's just a socially acceptable answer. So what I would like is you all to just ask yourselves, how am I? How am I really doing? And check in with yourself. Be honest with yourself. You don't have to share it with other people, but are you doing okay? Are you stressed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you anxious? Are you worried about your future because of the pandemic? Are you worried about your job or your family? Are you worried about contagion? So it's so important to think about, what am I feeling and what am I thinking, because it goes together, and we'll get to that in a minute. Deep breathing and breathing techniques can help us be in a mindfulness state of being as well. And that's a technique that's pretty easy to learn. And once you learn it and you can regulate your breathing, that will help you change your overall sense of being pretty quickly, in a matter of minutes, from being possibly stressed and overwhelmed or anxious, even irritable or angry. If you sit and quietly stay present, focused, and practice some deep breathing techniques, it can bring your body back down into a place of more peacefulness, so that you are taking control now of your thoughts instead of your thoughts taking control over you. And your body will actually have a more calming presence, and you will feel a little bit more able to manage your day if you learn that technique. So those are just a couple of ways. Managing our anxiety related to the pandemic, super important. As you know, there's so much information out there, from the news to social media to friends and family, and there's just so much, and you don't know what is factual or not. And so hopefully you're not overthinking and you're not allowing the information overload to make you feel completely overwhelmed. And if you are, I just want to let you know that's normal. A lot of people are overwhelmed and extremely worried and stressed during this time, of course, because this is a very challenging time. So you are normal to have that experience. But I want to make sure that I help you create a balance and be mindful of checking the facts, making sure you're getting the right information from the health department, from your local city officials, from anywhere that is a credible source, and not overthink. And I don't want you to think, well, what does that mean? We have to be you have to do our due diligence to find the right way to handle this. And I fully agree. I want to make sure that you can create a balance between being prepared and obsessing. We don't want you to obsess. It's super easy to be that hamster wheel where we are just thinking, and like that hamster turning over and over and over. And some of you are probably thinking yes, because you've been there, and it's very common right now during COVID for people to obsess and to feel like a hamster wheel, just running and not knowing where they're going and feeling very stressed. And that is normal during this time, but I want you to be more mindful and practice checking the facts and not overthinking, and practicing bringing yourself back to a state of balance and saying, I'm already prepared, I've done my due diligence, I'm doing XYZ, and that's all that I can do today, and I did a good job. Or I did that an hour ago or yesterday, and I did a good job, and that's all that I can do, is take it hour by hour, day by day, and prepare and do my due diligence to do the right thing versus obsessing. Obsessing doesn't help you. It just causes more strain and stress, and it is not a way to help yourself feel good and manage your well-being. As you know, those of you that are prone to anxiety or obsession, it doesn't feel good. So if you can be mindful of creating that balance, that will help. Also, please learn to practice what I call self-validation. So many times, instead of validating ourselves, we beat ourselves up. We say, oh my gosh, why am I worrying so much? Or, oh, you know, what is wrong with me? Why am I up thinking about this? Or why am I feeling stressed or aggravated? Instead of being disparaging to yourself, putting yourself down or beating yourself up, instead, let's try to replace that with some self-validation, which would be, I'm doing a great job. I'm doing the best that I can. I am managing stress like any other person going through COVID, and it's not easy, but I'm doing the best I can. So there's a sense of healthy self-esteem and healthy understanding of self-validation that is needed during this time to help you stay mentally able to manage what's going on, because otherwise it's just going to be a lot of brain overload and excess stress that you don't need. You have so many things to take care of. So it's easier if you free up some of that space and you don't beat yourself up. Looking at the relationship between mind, body, wellness, they are a whole part. As I mentioned, it's part of your whole person self-care. And when you aren't feeling good, I just want to ask you, what are you thinking about? So just take a minute now in your own thoughts, and I want you to think about the most recent time you didn't feel good. Meaning you were stressed, you were irritated, irritable, aggravated, possibly down or distressed, anxious, depressive, anytime recently that you just didn't feel that great. It could have been this morning, it could have been yesterday, it could have been last week, whenever it was. Just have a little quick check-in with yourself. And when you weren't feeling good, what were you thinking about? And just hold that in your mind for a second. And you might have multiple things, so don't obsess about all the different ones. Just choose the one for now for this exercise. Okay. Thank you. So now I'm going to have you understand a little bit about our thoughts and our feelings and how they work together. So what happens with us is, because many of us are, we're intellectuals or business people, thinkers, you're thinkers and doers. Maybe you're not thinking about your feelings because you're more intellectualizing what's going on, and that helps you get through your life and your day and probably allows you to be very successful at what you do. But I want to remind you that you are a whole person, right? The whole self-care, the whole mind piece is part of your emotional part, your intellectual part, your spiritual part, your physical. All of that is your mind, body, wellness, and the self-care component. but I want you to think about how you manage your thoughts matter, and our thoughts rule our feelings, and our feelings rule our behavior, and then it just becomes a little cycle. So I'm going to give a quick, really quick example here where I think most people could possibly relate. One of them would be, let's pretend you had a positive thought in your mind right now. We'll put the negative one aside that I had you think about a minute ago, and we'll bring you to a positive one. So in your positive thought, you're thinking, well, I'm gonna have a dinner with a friend today, and I'm excited about it. So I'm gonna text this friend and I'm gonna say, hey friend, let's go to dinner. And so you reach out and you're feeling happy. The thought is, I'm gonna text this friend, I'm gonna have dinner. So you act on that, you feel good about it, and you send the text, hey, let's go to dinner, blah, blah, or come over, I'll make you dinner. We'll be safe, we'll wear our masks, we'll social distance, or we'll sit outside, make sure everybody's healthy. Whatever you're gonna do, let's pretend that's what you're excited about. So you wait and you get no response. And so you think, okay, well, some of you are thinking, well, my friend's busy, not a big deal, they're busy professional, they'll get back. And then time goes on, they don't get back. So at this point, some of you may have a thought of, I hope that they're okay. And you might reach out again and say, hey, did you get my text? Or you might call them, hey, how are you? As time goes on, some of you may have a different experience. Some of you may start to feel worried, like, is my friend okay? Are they just busy and they haven't gotten back to me yet? Or are they ignoring me? Is something wrong? Or worse than that, could something have happened to them? Are they okay? So some of you might even get angry and wonder, like, what's happening? So everybody's going to have a different response to that. And depending on what you have thought and the relationship that you have with that person, your thought created a feeling. And at first it was positive or stable and neutral, and you acted upon that. But as time went by, maybe a few hours, you may have a different thought that will create a different feeling, maybe anxiety, maybe anger, maybe worry, and then a different behavior. Maybe you call them, maybe you send a few more texts, maybe you send an email. So everybody's going to have a different response, but I want to show you that in the brief time that I've been speaking about this, maybe a couple of minutes, you could have gone through different feelings and scenarios, and some of you would have gotten very anxious, some of you may be angry, some of you worried, some of you would thought, oh, this friend is busy, they probably can't make it, not a big deal. Everybody is different, but our thoughts are that powerful. We can create scenarios where we get extremely worried, or we create a catastrophe over something that's very small. So we want to make sure that we're clear that our thoughts are very, very powerful, and you want to be able to manage them and catch them quickly instead of letting them get out of control. Recognizing some symptoms of fear and anxiety. So fear over, oh, I hope that my friend is okay, or I'm hoping that maybe they're just busy and they haven't had the chance to write back, so it's fine, not a big deal. It's normal to have a little bit of fear. Everybody can feel that, and I want to say that it's normal during COVID to have fears, but there is something that we have to look into called debilitating fear, and this would be where somebody now has ongoing chronic debilitating, meaning it interferes with their daily functioning. They're so stressed, and not in the example that I gave, but on anything else that could be more important, where they feel like maybe the fear has overcome them. They are not able to do the normal things that they would like to do because the fear is taking over. So that would be the kind of fear that is more than just a normal fear. That would be more of an anxiety provoking fear that could debilitate your life and show up in ways that would possibly could be seen as symptoms of an anxiety disorder, or panic kind of episodes, things like that. So there is a difference between a regular fear and a debilitating fear, and it has to do with mental health symptoms and those kinds of things. So it's normal to be afraid during COVID. It's normal to have some fears and anxiety. That's completely normal right now and would be expected for what's happening. But if it interferes with your daily living, it's debilitating, you're not able to cope in a way that you would think is useful to your life, it's interfering with you being able to interact with your loved ones, your business, and you don't feel well enough, then you would want to look into, getting some possible help for that. But hopefully most of you are not having that experience. But in case you are, we do have some resources at the end. What to do when you feel worried or anxious. So we want to observe the feeling without judgment. You're human, and it's totally fine to feel scared or worried. You're normal. Anybody would be worried, and don't judge yourself. Do not do what I mentioned in the previous slide, where you are putting yourself down or judging the feeling. Just observe it. You're feeling anxious, and that's okay. Try to stay calm and not overreact, meaning don't obsess. Remember to bring yourself back to balance if you can. And understand that feelings come and go. They don't stay with us. This moment will change and pass. It's not that you're going to always feel exactly like you feel in this exact moment. They do shift, so that's important to know. And something else to keep in mind is that you are not your fear. You are not your anger. You are not your distress, or if you have any depression, you are not those words. You are experiencing those things and those feelings, and you are not that. So it's important to separate yourself and to put it outside of you, so that you understand you're still a person. You matter. You're not deduced to some label or some term that doesn't help you. You are a person who's experiencing something, and try to observe yourself without judgment, and know that feelings do come and go, and that will help you to stay a little bit more present. In terms of what we can do for coping skills and tools, some of you may be aware of what coping skills are. You might work in mental health, or you might just be really good at problem solving and solving your own problems, and that's fantastic because you're a resilient person. Others might be wondering, like, what is a coping skill? So a coping skill at its very basic level is a skill that you've learned to help you get through a difficult time when maybe somebody else wouldn't know what to do. You have learned to cope, and that is a skill now, and whatever suits you, keep doing it. So if you've learned to cope by journaling, maybe some of you are writers. I might have writers or authors. You might be somebody who is an artist. Maybe you put your feelings into your art. Maybe you are a creative developer and you design websites, and when you're feeling extra anxious, you just go into designing and it makes you feel better. So some people cope differently. Coping could be something that you would do, for example, like journaling. That is a coping mechanism. That's a tool that you could use. And it's simple. You would just take a journal and you would freely write any of your feelings out. Nobody would have to see it. You don't need to edit it. It's just a kind of free association, and you get the feelings out of you instead of having them stay inside of you. And other people kind of go online and find support there. You can do that. You can do an anonymous kind of journal for yourself that nobody sees, or if you are in therapy with somebody or in a counseling group, and if you would like to do a more collaborative process, you're probably welcome to discuss that with your mental health professional, and you could bring your journal in and discuss it with them. Some people do that as well. So coping skills are just tools, and some people do different things. They might feel that when they're very stressed, instead of getting angry and yelling at their partner or their family members, they instead decide they're going to take out that anger and go for a run. Okay, so you can also do physical exercise as part of your coping if it helps you. You can do practices in your home. Some people, go on the treadmill or work out, Zumba, whatever you can do. Some people do yoga. So it can be a physical activity. It can be an artistic activity. It can be anything that gets you through that is healthy. Now, I just want to preface that I'm sure all of you are successful professional people and do your best to stay healthy, and that's going to help you to run your businesses. But I just want to mention that sometimes people think about coping by overusing alcohol and substances in an attempt to feel better. But I don't want people to overuse or abuse any alcohol or substances, especially during COVID, because it's really easy for people to just have some extra wine or some extra cocktails or, do other types of drugs because it's just easier instead of dealing with the feeling. So I just want to preference that, make sure that the coping skills that you are developing and using are healthy for you and are not going to create another mental health issue or substance abuse issue. And I just want to preface that because I'm sure there's at least one person on the call who has themselves struggled possibly, or has a family member or knows somebody, because we do know substance abuse is rampant in our culture, and it's probably it's alcohol and drugs are readily available to almost everybody. So not that you all would do that, but I just want to put that out there because I care and I want you guys to be healthy and choosing healthy coping mechanisms. Also reaching out to friends and family who are supportive of you, or if you are in therapy, or if you are in a group, or if you have friends here from the chamber that are business professionals that nobody takes the place of a mental health professional, but you can utilize friends, family, business professionals that are friendly, that you feel comfortable with talking about very basic things where you each can support each other. So it doesn't take the place of a mental health person, but social support is very, very important. And so I want people to know that there's a lot of ways that you can help yourself, either with the tools that you may already have and or developing new ones, or even reaching out to friends and family that could just be there to talk with you. Nothing serious and very mental health related, but more of just helping you get through, hey, we're stressed during COVID, or we're feeling a little bit cabin fever by being home, or having limited options, those kinds of things, as we're all being respectful to the mandate. Our work home environment is important. Many of you, as you already know, you already are living and working at home. You're already doing it because some of you might have already a home-based business, or some of you transitioned from your work environment to your home environment. So many of us are doing that now, and we want to make sure that it's what we would like it to be. So creating a healthy home environment that serves your needs. Here's just a basic picture so you all can see. Whatever makes you happy, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Some people like plants, some people prefer light, some people want a desk or two, some people are fine to sit at their couch or on their table or in any room in the house. So whatever serves your needs, it needs to just be a healthy work environment for you that you feel you can maintain your schedule, you can feel productive, you can feel it serves you, and it will help you to maintain your mental health well-being. You don't want to create a space where you feel like, oh, this stresses me out to be here, I don't want to have to work in this spot. Sometimes it helps to have multiple locations. I know for myself, I am mostly working from home right now, and so I've had to try out a few different places in my home that feel okay. Plus, we have to keep in mind that there is noise. As you know, you might be living in an area that you will hear the outside noise, even if you close everything up. It could be the landscaping, it could be traffic, it could be, you know, any number of things. So it's good to be able to know you have more than one. If you do have more than one, you can create a couple of spaces in your home that if you needed to retreat to an alternate place in your home or somewhere else, if you had to, you would have that ability. So at least create one space, and if you can, two spaces. So as a backup, you may never know what's going to come down the pipeline for you. But in terms of your mental health well-being, it helps to feel like you have some control over your environment that makes you feel productive and healthy and safe, that you can do your work in peace. If possible, we want to create that as much as we can. Tips for parents and students living together while quarantined. So here's a couple of ideas. So there's a desk here, just a basic kind of work from home desk. And then there is a separate photo here with two different desks there combined. So just ideas. You might have already figured it out since we've been home for several months, some of you. But if you were looking for ideas for, you know, parents or students, or if you yourself are a business owner and you might also be a student, just different ideas that works where you can sit and learn and do what you need to do. And I recommend for parents and students to keep a schedule that allows for the shared space. So if you're working in a family or there's multiple people sharing space, it helps if we just tell each other ahead of time. Like if a parent knows their college student or even their child K through 12 is studying, or they have a lesson with their teacher, then it helps for them to communicate. The parent can know what the child's doing during that time. And also if the parent has their own meeting, maybe it's you having a meeting while your child is in the other room, also Zooming with their teacher. So it helps just to say, hey, I'm gonna be over here, and you know, mom or dad or whoever, I'm gonna be in a meeting, and only if it's a a big emergency, would I like to be disturbed? So you're letting the other people in the house know, like, hey, I love you, I'm here for you, but I have this important meeting, and unless it's a very big deal, an emergency, please, if possible, try not to walk in during that time. So everybody's respectful. So I think it's great to know the scheduling and to talk about the boundaries and how you can support each other, how the college students or the younger students can have a safe place to learn with, distraction free as much as possible. And for any students on the call today, I do want to say it's so helpful if you let your professors know what's going on. And now if you're doing the virtual learning anyways, they are aware, of course, because they're going through what you're going through, but it's helpful if you let them know as if other things are going on. For example, let's pretend one of your family members has COVID or is going through something. It helps to let your professors and teachers know, like, hey, these things are happening. They want to support you. And so I think it's very helpful if we are just everybody super honest, transparent, supportive with each other so that everybody can get their needs met, because sometimes your professors or your teachers don't always know that you have 2 people sick in the home with COVID and you're not able to study in the same ways that you normally would because you're very worried about that, or because you're taking care of an elderly parent or a sick child or yourself. So we don't want to assume that they know. It's just better, to what you feel comfortable. Obviously, your health is your protected information and you don't have to share that directly if you're quarantining at home. But if you just want to let people know what's going on regarding your schooling, it helps as well. So the parents and the teachers are supporting each other, and that the students get what they need and everybody feels safe and supported. So that's one thing that we can do to help. And knowing everybody's schedules so that everybody gets the privacy to study and run their meetings and all of those things. Managing the quarantine when you are alone or with pets. So here's some little kind of pet, quarantine pics here that I thought were cute just to kind of lighten the mood. Pets are wonderful. If you have pets that, keep you company and you live alone and you would be going through the quarantine alone, except if you didn't have a dog or a cat or any other pet to keep you company, that's fantastic. Some people get up in the morning with depression and wouldn't even want to go move forward, except that they have an animal that they love, their fur child that they want to take care of. And so I highly recommend those of you, obviously, who have thought about getting a pet, if you would like to get a pet and if you feel it's safe to do so, you can consider that. I'm not telling you to go get one. I'm just saying that it's a wonderful thing to do. And some of you may already have the pets that you love and keep you company. And right now the pets are lucky, right? They get you home all the time, more than they did when you might have been at the office all the time. So pets are really loving you home. But one thing we want to keep in mind is that they require a lot of attention. They can jump on your laptops or your files, or they want a lot of love and they want to go for walks and treats and all the fun things, which is awesome. But as you know, so try to, as you already know, walk your dog when it's not a time when you're going to need to be on a meeting or doing things, deadlines and things like that. So making sure that you are giving them their fun or their treats, as any pet parents already know and do, but trying to take care of them, of course, in a way that they are managed so that you can manage your life and do your work, with them and not have any type of major interruptions. It's lovely to have them with you. And those that don't have a pet and don't have family members and might be on this call who are quarantining alone, it's not fun because you might miss your friends and family. You might miss your colleagues that you don't see at the office as much. You might miss going to the places that you used to go that now have restrictions. Or you might not even feel comfortable, even though some of the places, and depending on the industry that you work in, certain places are open with restrictions and some are not open at all. And so you might not even feel comfortable, even if they were open, to go, and that's completely normal and fine. And so to the people who are quarantining alone, I just want to say that your mental health and well-being matters now and more than ever, and trying to get through this alone, get the support, make sure you're reaching out and that you're not going at it fully alone. Some fears related to COVID and unemployment. Some of you on the call today are business owners, and some of you are possibly also working as employees or students who might be working, and some may have family members or themselves have been laid off or are concerned to be laid off or reduced hours, you are not alone. It's very difficult during this time. A lot of our population has lost jobs and or are the only working person in the family, and that's a lot of stress when your partner has lost a job or had reduced wages. And so it's very scary, the economic climate right now for business owners and families and individuals. So, you know, right now more than ever, we need to support each other. And so people are fearing to lose their benefits or other security. Business owners might be fearful of laying off staff that they have relied upon and care about, and now have to wonder, like, which staff do I lay off? If you even need to think about layoffs. So it's very hard right now on all of you. And I just want you to remember that you're not alone. We're all going through this, and you have resiliency built inside of you. You have that already inside. So try not to despair, and know that, you know, you have support. In terms of reopening your business safely, you know, as you all know, because you're the experts here, you're the business people, just make sure that you follow all the guidelines set by the local health departments for your industry, any state, local officials, medical professionals, any of those guidelines, as you know, and as I know you're already doing as chamber members. I'm sure all of you are actively doing that every day. So I just want to say thank you for that, for keeping yourselves and all of us healthy and safe by doing that. And you're taking care of yourself and taking care of the community, and that is beautiful, and we thank you. And I know your business is super important to you. And I want you to remember that social distance is actually a physical distance. It's that six feet, but we don't have to stay away from people that we care about. We can make a phone call. We can jump on a Zoom meeting. We can FaceTime people. You know, we can stay socially connected. We can reach out to that friend that we've been thinking about, but we haven't seen in quite some time, but you still care for them and they care for you. Pick up the phone or ask them to jump on a, you know, a FaceTime or whatever you can, whatever is comfortable for you. But please, as you're social distancing and you're keeping yourselves and your business safe and your family safe, and you're being so mindful and you're doing so much wonderful due diligence to yourself and the community, you can still remember to love and honor yourself and stay connected to those who love and honor you. Call those friends, call those business associates, call the people who miss you and think about you and you think about them. Don't be too much on your own. Even though we're all adults, we still are humans, and so that connection is important. So don't take the social distancing as a reason to not reach out to those who would love to hear from you. Also, nothing is more important than you, and I started this presentation today with that. You are the number one most important thing. Your business is important. You are so important. So make sure you take care of you, and if you take care of you, you give yourself the health and safety, wellness, the mental health check, the emotional checks, you take care of all of that. That is what keeps your business going. You have to be healthy first, mentally and physically. You're a whole person, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, all of the different ways. So you're number one, and it's hard sometimes for business owners to hear that. To them, the businesses, there are multiple business owners on here. You might own several businesses or have multiple hats that you wear, and you put yourself last. You put your businesses first or your family members first, which is a wonderful thing. We do need to love and honor our family and take care of them and take care of ourselves. But without you, what's going to happen? So you are the primary person to take care of yourself so that you can make sure your business and your loved ones and your family and everything else is in order. It starts first with you. So please put yourself, your self-care, your mental health well-being, your physical well-being, your safety, all of that first, because that is what's going to make all the difference. And the last thing was some support, mental health and well-being supportive resources. And I do believe that we can make these available. So if anybody wants them, I believe Peter was happy to send them. So we have the DMH 24/7 Access Helpline, and that is for referrals for mental health in LA County. And also if it's like a suicidal concern or crisis concern, Of course, you would call 911, but we also have the access line. The LA County Community Resource Information, I think my slide is covering that, is 211. So 211 is kind of like 411, but it's for LA County. And sorry that my little text box is covering that, but it's basically 211, and then you can call and get resources in LA County. Also, we have a new warm line that is through DMH, and that number is here, and that's for emotional support. It is not a crisis line. It's only for emotional support, and during the COVID time, we're wanting to support people emotionally as well. We have a new line called Clue, and this is for spiritual hotline information. So if somebody is of a certain spiritual faith, they're welcome to call, but also it's non-denominational, so somebody can call our Clue line and speak to somebody there and get support from our clergy or pastors or any of these spiritual leader volunteers, and they will help you with emotional support. And if you had a certain faith that you wanted to get connected to, they would be able to help you with that as well. Other support lines here, the USC Family Caregiver Support Center. So some of you are caregivers, some of you the sandwich generation where you are taking care of yourself and possibly a loved one, like a parent who might have an issue like COVID or dementia or something, and you just need support as a caregiver for you. So that is there as well. And we also have the SAMHSA Disaster Distress Hotline, and that is available. And we have a teen line. You can text teen to that number there for teens to get help. And then we have a mindfulness app called Headspace, and LA County paid for all residents of LA County through 2020 to have a free Headspace account where you can practice mindfulness meditation with an app. And you can just go on there and it will be free through LA County for LA County residents. So those are the referrals that I have for you, and I'm grateful to have come. And I don't know if there's any questions or Peter wants to say anything from the chat, let me know, but those are ways that we can help. It's been great to offer that. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Dr. Johansen, and thanks again for the presentation.
You're welcome.
We are going to move into the questions. We do have quite a few questions for you. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. Let me just pull up the chat box. So first question is, what is one thing that I can do to check on mental health of my team without being too obvious?
Okay, great question. Depending on the age of the teen, I would say you're the parent, so you are the expert on your child, first and foremost. You know them much better than I. So I would look at, is there differences to how my teen was before COVID to now? Or are there certain things that I'm noticing, irritability, sleeping more, not sitting at the dinner table with the family, something like that? And you can ask them, hey, how's it going? And if you don't feel satisfied with the answer, you can also talk to them about, would they like to call that teen text line, or would they like to maybe see somebody, and kind of feel it out in a respectful way.
Okay, so that I'll go ahead and change it. Just one part of it is now as a business owner, or even just a manager, what can I do to check with like coworkers with my team without being too obvious?
I would say that you can be a kind owner and say, hey team, I know we're all going through COVID. I know some of you have your own personal life experiences, and if you have an EAP at your company, some companies may, I would say, please feel free to utilize that. Or if they feel like it's too personal, they can just say, hey, if anybody needs help, you can look into your own private insurance, or we can give you some referrals. Other things businesses can do is they can consider, having a training for their business where somebody can come out and help them give resources or trainings to say, hey, here's what we can do, because there's that fine line between the business owner and not overstepping the boundaries of that relationship with your employees. So you want to just be a little careful. Yeah.
Okay. And so to add on to that, then I guess this question is a good follow-up, is what are some things we can do in the office to create a positive space to make people feel comfortable asking for help or support if they need it?
That's wonderful. I think there's that balance between work and then trying not to overstep. So maybe some things could be to ask them, if it's a small company, you could hold a meeting and just kind of ask, hey, we're wanting to give you guys extra support. So we want to see what your needs are. You could do an anonymous box. You can have an open Q&A. You could also put together a poll of some questions, some brief, maybe 10 questions, and have that sent by IT to the employees where they could answer some very basic questions without feeling like they are, putting themselves out there too much, so that the owners can see like, hey, here's what we got. 20% feel like, yes, they would like help, or no, wow, 80% really said they need some referrals, or they would like us to put something together for them. And then you would be able to offer something, that could be useful to them without overstepping a boundary.
Okay. What are some questions that we should ask each of ourselves to ensure our own mental health is steady and strong?
I would think that's wonderful. I would think about taking a minute, as I mentioned earlier, and kind of sitting with yourself and thinking, what is my body feeling? Am I feeling different? Because sometimes we have somatic aches and pains, headaches, stomach aches, feeling restless at night, and maybe that's not your normal. Maybe you're somebody who slept like a baby all your life easily. You couldn't wait to hit the pillow, and now you're like, oh, I'm tossing and turning. Why is my back hurting all the time? Why am I feeling stressed? Why do I want to pull out my hair? Like, what is wrong with me? Or some of you are like awesome go-getter types, and you get it done and rise and shine, and you're whistling in the shower and happy. And some of you are like, that used to be me, but now I'm dragging. Now I don't want to shower. Now I'm like, I laying in bed. Now I feel exhausted. I'm burnt out, right? So there's so many symptoms of burnout, exhaustion, stress, fear of contagion with COVID that might be creeping in there, but because you're a go-getter and you're always boom, 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 get it done, you're not paying attention to those pieces. So I would say, try to be centered with yourself and ask yourself those questions and see if in your body you're feeling different and uncomfortable and what has changed, or more irritable. I will say there is no 100% one, there's not a cookbook recipe for, hey, every time this presents itself, it's always this. It depends on the individual. So you know yourself better than me. So I would look into, am I different? Am I going from a little bit of stress to a ongoing chronic pattern of like, I can't get out of bed. Maybe I'm a little bit agitated, depressive, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that you can do. You could also call the warm line and talk to somebody, just emotional support. Or if you are prone to having a relationship with a therapist, you've done that, you've had therapy, or you have a psychiatrist or a counselor, or you've gone to a group, it wouldn't hurt if you felt like and I'm not telling anybody here to go to therapy, but to call up some of you had therapy in the past, and maybe you want to call up that person and say, hey, it's been this long and I thought I was okay, but during COVID, I kind of maybe want to come back now, or I would like some help because I don't feel like myself. And honestly, it's very brave to consider mental health because it's so much easier to ignore it. But right now, more than ever, you matter, and it's so important to care. So I'm glad you're asking that, and those are great questions.
I know we're wrapping up on time, so I'll say it with this, or I'll wrap up with this last question. And I know this probably could be a presentation in itself, but there are so many negative stigmas when it comes to our mental health. Is there a better way for us to talk about it with coworkers, with friends and family?
That's beautiful. That is its own presentation, but I will say, one thing that we, as every person on this call can do, and I do as well, is to own up to the fact that we are human. As much as we want to be those perfect go-getter, obsessive, got it done, polished, right? You all know, many of you, right, business owners, you are a person at your most vulnerable level. We're just, as much as we wish we were superheroes, right? Superman, superwomen, whatever, we're vulnerable. So it's okay to not be okay. And DMH had We Rise, a whole campaign with artistic events and poetries and speakers and therapeutic things that we offered this year virtually, but we've done in person a couple of prior years, where it said in one of our main logos was like, it's okay to not be okay, or one of the slogans that they gave for the artwork that was presented. And we have to say it is okay, because this is not normal. I know people want to say it's the new normal, and I'm not going to say anything about what other people call it. I'm just going to say it's not normal to what we're used to. And to call it normal or the new, that's fine for other people, no judgment. Just for myself, it's not normal for me, and it's probably not for a lot of people, but we are complying because we're reasonable, intelligent, smart, safe, doing the right thing professionals that know it's better to be safe and healthy and to do the right thing and follow all the guidelines to protect ourselves and the well-being of the public. So we're going to do that. But we do need to be okay to say, like, hey, I'm having a hard day, or you know what, I'm anxious today, but I'm going to rest tonight. I'm not going to burn myself out, and learn to turn off. I think many of us, including myself, since now we're working at home, I've always worked hard and I've always do tons of things all the time, as many of you do. But it's so easy to just have a continuous work day and don't even log off. You're just answering emails, doing more things, chopping away, whatever, all day long, saying yes, 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 yes. So we have to learn to say, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I was supposed to be off at 4:30. Oh, it's 7. I was supposed to be off at 5. Or it's the weekend and here I am hammering away because I am. So we have to learn to have good boundaries with ourselves and say, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that I need to go to bed, put myself to bed early. No one's going to put us to bed. We're full-grown adults. We're not babies. We're not children. Where it's like the parent's going to come in and say, hey, night, night, time to go to bed. We have to put ourselves to bed. We have to say, hey, turn that off, get to bed. This is not healthy anymore. Cut those, all devices off unless there's an emergency. So we have to learn to say it's okay to not be okay, and I got to take care of myself. I got to rest. I have to eat healthy. I have to do what keeps my physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, spiritual self okay. And if that means I don't say yes to 10 things and I only say yes to 7 things, then that's what that means. Because if you fall apart, who's going to take care of you? You have to take care of you, right?
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Johansen. And this was a really great presentation. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for everything that you shared with us. And again, anyone else who, if we didn't get to your questions, please feel free to email myself or email hello@scvchamber.com. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, or if there's anything else that you thought of, I will connect with Dr. Johansen and we'll try to get you the right information. As she mentioned, we're going to go ahead and put together all the resource information and get that sent over to you. As you know, our website's got quite a few information and resources for you to go through with everything, including we have our COVID-19 resource page. So feel free to visit that to kind of see, we keep it up to date on everything that you need. With that, again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Johansen, thank you once again for taking the time. And please let the chamber know if there's anything that you need. Be safe, be healthy, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. So thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. And been great. Bye.
Thanks.